The story of British India begins with the East India Company. Founded in 1600, the company initially sought trade. They desired the rich spices, textiles, and treasures of the East. The Mughal Empire, then ruling India, presented a grand opportunity. The company established trading posts, slowly gaining a foothold. In 1690, they founded Calcutta. This city, on the banks of the Hooghly River, became their base. Fort William, built in 1707, solidified their presence. The company's ambitions soon grew beyond trade. They saw the Mughal Empire weakening. Internal conflicts and external threats chipped away at its power. The company, with its private army and growing influence, sensed an opportunity. They began to intervene in local politics. Their objective was clear: to advance their own interests. They exploited rivalries, forged alliances, and used their military might to tip the scales of power. Local rulers, wary of the company's ambitions, grew increasingly apprehensive. The company continued to consolidate its power. They built more forts, raised larger armies, and expanded their control over trade. The stage was set for a clash of ambitions. The year 1757 marked a turning point in the history of British India. Siraj ud-Daulah, the young Nawab of Bengal, found himself at odds with the East India Company. The company, under the leadership of Robert Clive, had grown increasingly bold in its assertions of power. Siraj ud-Daulah, determined to assert his authority, ordered the company to cease their fortifications and respect his sovereignty. The company, however, had other plans. Intrigue and betrayal filled the air as the company plotted to overthrow Siraj ud-Daulah. They found willing allies in Mir Jafar, the Nawab's ambitious commander-in-chief, and Jagat Seth, a powerful banker. On June 23, 1757, the forces of the East India Company, led by Robert Clive, clashed with the Nawab's army at Plassey. Outnumbered but strategically superior, Clive's forces, aided by the defection of Mir Jafar's troops, routed the Nawab's army. Siraj ud-Daulah, defeated and betrayed, was captured and executed. The victory at Plassey marked a watershed moment. The East India Company, once a trading company, had become a major military power in India. The company, now the dominant force in Bengal, installed Mir Jafar as a puppet ruler. The era of British dominance in India had begun. The Battle of Plassey may have marked the beginning of British dominance, but it also sowed the seeds of resistance. The following century witnessed numerous uprisings against the East India Company's rule. From the Sannyasi rebellion in Bengal and Bihar to the Vellore mutiny in the south, Indians from all walks of life rose up against the company's oppressive policies. These uprisings, though ultimately suppressed, demonstrated the growing resentment against British rule. The period between 1757 and 1857 was marked by the consolidation of British power and the emergence of a nascent Indian nationalism. The East India Company expanded its control over vast swathes of the Indian subcontinent. They introduced new systems of administration, law, and education, often with little regard for local customs and traditions. This period also saw the rise of social and religious reform movements that challenged traditional hierarchies and advocated for greater social justice. The annexation of Punjab in 1849 and the introduction of the doctrine of lapse angered many Indian rulers. The stage was set for a major uprising, one that would shake the foundations of British rule in India. The year 1857 witnessed a turning point in the history of British India. What began as a mutiny by sepoys of the East India Company's army quickly transformed into a widespread rebellion against British rule. The immediate trigger for the uprising was the introduction of new Enfield rifles, rumored to be greased with animal fat, which was offensive to both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. However, the mutiny was fueled by deeper grievances, resentment against British policies, economic exploitation, and the suppression of Indian culture and religion. The mutiny spread like wildfire across northern and central India. Delhi, the seat of the Mughal Empire, became a focal point of the rebellion. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the aging Mughal emperor, was proclaimed the Emperor of Hindustan, uniting various rebel factions under his banner. The The Indian Rebellion of 1857, often referred to as the First War of Independence, was a watershed moment in the struggle against British rule. It marked the end of the East India Company's rule and the beginning of direct British Crown control over India. The rebellion also had a profound impact on the British psyche, shattering the myth of their invincibility and forcing them to re-evaluate their policies in India. The latter half of the 19th century saw the rise of Indian nationalism. Educated Indians, influenced by Western liberal ideas, began to demand greater political representation and an end to British rule. Organizations like the Indian National Congress were formed, advocating for self-governance. The partition of Bengal in 1905, a move intended to weaken the nationalist movement, backfired, further fueling anti-British sentiment. The early 20th century witnessed a surge in nationalist activities. The First World War, while initially garnering support for the British war effort from many Indians, also highlighted the inherent contradictions of colonialism. The war's end brought about fresh promises of self-rule, but these were largely unfulfilled. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 1919, where British troops opened fire on a peaceful gathering of unarmed civilians, proved to be a turning point. The massacre sent shockwaves throughout India, galvanizing the independence movement. Mahatma Gandhi, with his philosophy of non-violent resistance, emerged as the preeminent leader of the freedom struggle. Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, characterized by civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the British authorities, mobilized millions of Indians. The struggle for independence became a mass movement, encompassing people from all walks of life. The Indian independence movement was not just a political struggle, it was also a cultural renaissance. Poets, writers, musicians and artists played a crucial role in shaping the national consciousness. Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel Prize-winning poet, wrote soul-stirring songs and poems that became anthems of the freedom movement. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's novel, with its evocative song Vande Mataram, I Bow to Thee, Mother, became a rallying cry for nationalists. Bengali intellectuals and revolutionaries, inspired by the rich cultural heritage of their land, made significant contributions to the fight for independence. Khudiram Bose, a young revolutionary, became a symbol of unwavering courage and sacrifice when he was hanged at the age of 18 for his role in the freedom struggle. His story, along with those of countless other freedom fighters, served as a constant reminder of the sacrifices made in the pursuit of liberty. The Indian independence movement reached its zenith in the 1940s. The Second World War, with its devastating impact on Britain, further weakened its grip on India. The Indian National Army, led by Subhas Chandra Bose, fought alongside the Japanese during the war, posing a direct military challenge to British rule. The INA's exploits, though ultimately unsuccessful, further ignited the flames of freedom. In 1947, after decades of struggle and sacrifice, India finally achieved its independence. The British, weakened by war and facing mounting pressure both domestically and internationally, granted independence to India. The joy of freedom, however, was overshadowed by the tragic partition of the country into India and Pakistan. Partition led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history, accompanied by widespread violence and bloodshed. The legacy of British rule in India is complex and multifaceted. On the one hand, British rule brought about significant changes in infrastructure, administration, and education. On the other hand, it was a period marked by economic exploitation, political subjugation, and cultural suppression.